Okay, so can you join us? Yeah, sorry. Sorry for boring you already. Just trying to get in contact with Sue. Screen share. Okay, maybe just make me yours here. Okay. Right, so I'm just trying to share, invite people. There you go.
There you are.
Right, so we're getting there. So just bear with me 1 second because I'm just trying to invite Sue. You want to sing the song going whilst I do that? Maybe not. No. Okay, I won't.
If we do anything off chance, we'll eventually get only slightly better.
Sorry.
More smoothly. Have you got it?
Yeah, I'm just. Yeah. Okay.
It's all going to happen very soon. The intense is tension.
Yeah.
This is where this can use. Any minute now, folks. Here we go. This is it.
So I sent it over now to Sue. Okay, so hopefully you'll be able to see Sue in a few minutes. Okay. Well, a minute, less than a minute. By that time, we'll have a drink from the United Planet coffee. Oh, and hello, Sue.
Hello.
Hello.
Hello, Johnny. Good morning. Good morning from New Zealand.
Good evening from the UK.
I'm very, very pleased to be here. I'm a very honest person. So anybody listening, I missed the call. I was fast asleep.
Don't worry.
Don't worry about that. I mean, what time is it in New Zealand? They say it's
10 past 7.
They are 10 past 7. So, you know, we can't blame you for that. I'll be still in bed.
Yeah.
So, how are you? How are you both? And welcome and hi to any of the viewers listening.
Thank you. Yeah, we had a few. I think we bored them earlier because we were chatting about nothing, weren't we?
We were just bored. Yeah, I was bored myself.
Listen, live TV, as you well know, is all about that. So this is a show and it happens. And I've got Auntie Sue's bloomers, about 10 of them, so not to worry.
Well, we got plenty of that as well. We've got plenty of bloomers.
Yeah. Have you?
Wonderful.
Yeah, and the ones aware as well.
Okay, well, would you like me to just introduce myself?
Oh, please, yes.
Yes, please. Yeah, go for it.
And any questions, just ask away as I go through. I'm Sue Gaskell Barlow. I have qualifications, bits of paper, mainly life coach, mediator, and an author. I've written 3 books. I emigrated to New Zealand when I was 57. I'm now almost 72. And I have had a slimming business for 40 odd years called Shoreway. I unfortunately have outlived 2 husbands, and my lovely husband Steve died 3 years ago and he was my toy boy, guys. And he still slipped the net. So I had to then reinvent myself and accept that I was on my own and that he would always be with me in my heart and my spirit, and he would be the one person that wanted me to do well. Over the last 2 years, I've rebuilt myself, and I have Facebook and YouTube lives, doing hundreds of them, helping people all over the world with just about any situation, because life seems to have given me so many different experiences, so that I was almost being molded to be where I am now. And so that's me up to date. And the greatest pleasure for me is to see somebody who actually wants to change because things aren't working, accept and understand that they've got to put the work in, because I can do anything. I can lead a horse to water. I'm not going to be able to help you to drink the water. So that's where I'm up to. And my association with Paul, viewers, is I've known Paul decades, and he came to me, very, very sad young man, and left at least aware of how to move forward and with tools to get on with his life. So I'm now going to ask Paul, just very briefly, to respond to that. We've spoken a couple of times, and we found an absolutely wonderful platform, which is to know about that this is not the end, that spirit is vibration energy, that we have a spirit within, a heart within, that we need to love ourselves. We have a split spirituality, which is fear-based, and we have to undo all the damage that we've learned in our programming to create and to carry on as an adult. So I see evidence, Paul, that you've grown enormously in that.
Yes, I feel like I've got so much more insight, I guess, and more self-aware of myself, really, where things come from. And I think where I am as a person now compared to what I was in my 20s, I'm a lot more able to, more stronger mentally, and just strong character.
And it takes a lot of guts, guys, to be here on a platform where people just come along. And I'm a very honest person. I've no wish to be anything other than honest. And people take pots at you, they can be critical. And this is the journey we're on, because Tony, I'm not sure about you, Johnny. I don't know what your journey's been like. I know that Paul and I both were riddled with irrational guilt, irrational fears, a sense of inferiority, which pretty well can annihilate you unless you make sense of it. So to be here, three of us on social media in itself is a absolute well done and pat on the back. What about you, Johnny?
Well, I mean, I've suffered from anxiety and depression. I don't mind admitting that, but since I've really started Unite Planet and reconnected with Paul, and I've kind of learned more about energy, positive energy. It's really helped me dealing with it. In ways I didn't really think I ever would. I don't medicate myself anymore with it at all. I'm able to, because I think that's quite a positive, a negative, but I don't want to, take medication for it. I want to be able to do it within myself. And that's what I've done, and I've found I'm a lot better with it. I don't really, because it feeds. It's just negative energy, and I think once you understand that, you can deal with it a lot better. And that's what we've been doing. That's what we've been doing.
Can I give gifts along the way from insight that I have within the self?
Yeah, definitely. Yeah.
Okay, so for anyone, if there's just one person, when this goes out and lots of people watch on recording, if one person can hear what we're saying and what you've just mentioned, and we talk about negativity, you've got negative and positive, which creates something called light, a light bulb. So we need both. And what people tend to do, we've done, is think that negative is not okay. Whereas what we have to do is accept the unacceptable, understand that we have a thought process, which we were given to, it's how it was back then, by people, teachers, family that were also anxious. So we've got their fears, and we've also got our own. And that's the journey we're on, to try and make sense of the human condition that we are, even though we're spirit and we're here as a human being to learn lessons. So if people can see that the word negative does not mean, oh, doom and gloom. It means that we've got a lot of anxiety built up from inner fears, which on 9 out of 10, they're irrational. It's like there's a tiger in the room. It's not, oh, I've forgotten to do something. Like this morning, I wake up and I realize I've even missed the call. I had a call and I've missed the call. I covered it with 2 calls. I woke up at 7 o'clock. In that moment, as you're waking up, you're in that dream state. And then I have to realize, at this moment, Paul and Johnny are waiting for me. So instead of me getting anxious and thinking, oh, well, that's it, blown it, you stay logical. You take a deep breath. And of course, I've got to do my hair because, come on, I'm a lady. And so I let you know I'm with you. 10 minutes covered me. And so here we are. Now, years ago, like you, I've been in the dark dog of depression and I've had anxiety and everything was my fault. So I had the lot. And years ago, I wouldn't be able to have done this and I would have been in bits. And we come on and we tell the truth straight away, because telling lies is of no use whatsoever. And as a result of that, anyone at all that is depressed, who's lost someone, who doesn't know how to move forward and allows the anxiety to create social phobias that keep them stuck in the house, or intense shyness can do that. It's that somebody said you're shy, oh, she's shy, he's shy, and they're trapped in that. Whether it's anxiety, whether it's another feeling that they aren't able to use properly. That's the role I play. It's the work I do. I nurture everyone's inner damaged psychological child. So if somebody's stuck in anxiety and they're adults and they want to move forward and they have to want to do it, then we can teach them to change the way they see themselves and then everyone else. You two are an example of that.
Oh, that's really nice. That's really nice. I kind of resonated with that as well. And going back with how you can use negative energy as well. It's like you said, and I think almost subconsciously I was doing that, without really consciously being aware that I was accepting this this negative energy, but I was. Because it was there, but instead of letting it dwell and let it build up, I kind of expected it, and then I was able to deal with it, So I totally resonate with that.
See, we're off now. I'm off. You see, if you just let me flow and stop me if you want to ask a question that other people might benefit by, because I know what I know. It just is, because I've come from that place where everything was doom and gloom. On the outside, I was a bubble. Nobody would have known. You wouldn't know by anything, because the vulnerable side of me was so well hidden, and it's hidden in the subconscious, and it comes out when you're stressed. Well, if you're a good actress, which I think I am, I really do, bravado, you use bravado, which is another role that we play to mask how you're feeling. So very, very quickly, and that's something else I've realised, that I used to always say, I feel nervous. I feel this. I don't pretend. And that's a great skill to have. Don't pretend. If you feel anxious, you feel anxious. If you feel happy, you're not going to say, oh dear, I mustn't feel happy. And yet society says if you feel fearful or anxious in any way or depressed, then there's something wrong with you. And in this day and age, what is mental health? Mental health. I'll ask you to define mental health in a sentence or two.
Being mentally healthy, I suppose it's being aware of yourself. I don't know, being healthy, about being aware of yourself and how you conduct yourself, and and how you are within yourself. I suppose it's a healthy.
Okay. I'm actually, I've just put you both on the spot, and that's really good, because I want you to be completely honest and real. So
of course,
don't, if you were to say, I don't know, do you know that's the best answer if you don't know? And if you think, I don't know, I'll have a go, which is what I asked you, you will be helping people watching this. And I'm showing you some of the skills that I can draw people out, because I have to help each person to discuss what's going off within themselves. So I asked the question, what is the word mental? Definition, Paul.
Mental health. I first of all came up as a negativity in my mind. You know, like you got a mental health issue, but then mental health can be a positive thing as well. You know, it is healthy. Or yours healthy, and I was thinking the other way around.
Okay, so that's really, really cool. Now, I can only give my interpretation from the understanding from my journey, because each of us are on our own individual, unique journey. So mental health issues, social stigma, straight away we come up with, oh, there's something wrong, oh, you're mental. It's not a nice feeling, and our feelings are so important. So mental health, anybody who has a mental health issue, which is still a great social stigma, do not kid yourself, people are scared of things they don't understand. So mental means mindset, and the mindset is connected. Our mindset, our programming is connected to our feelings. So whatever information we've received, possibly from the time of being in the mother's womb until we're 10, we watch, we take pictures, we mimic. And by the time we're 10, everything we've learned is in our subconscious. It's an automatic response when anything's happened. So mental, my definition is that we have a feeling, we're anxious, then we have a thought, which is from our programming, and then we act on it. My work, and I just, this is, nobody's told me this is my work, is for when someone's with me to say, okay, what do you mean by that? Because what you define as mental, and what I do, this is where our assumptions come from. And this is where if you have a low self-esteem, which is fearful energy deep down, and you're anxious and you've got guilt, irrational guilt, all from programming, things we've picked up, then we're going to struggle. And what we have to do is learn to be true to ourselves and look at the things that are going off. So mental health to me is still second to physical, although we are doing catch up. And everything about you two now, I could write an A4 book on you. That's how quick I just know stuff. And so I've like got an X-ray vision, because I've cleared all my chakras, and it's ongoing till the day you die. You have triggers. So for instance, my trigger this morning, and I can keep going back to that, was panic, fear. And I'm delighted to tell you and the viewers that not for 1 second did I blame myself for oversleeping or anybody else. I accepted it. I accept the unacceptable, which it's already happened. We're not in the moment, that's gone. So once you can accept the unacceptable, and then you stay calm because you've learned about your trauma and your psychological responses, then you have that space, which is the moment, to make a decision. And here we are. So that's what is wonderful about the fact that you two, I know I've been on your site, of course, I do a bit of homework. You two are here and you want to make a difference by inviting people to listen, to talk, and then for people to listen. And it's an absolute superb key. And the first thing is we have to be honest with our viewers, our listeners, and we have to invite them to make a comment. This subject is deep, you guys know that, because because of what I know, and because I know about the psychological damage, and if we cut each other open, apart from a lot of blood, we wouldn't find the mind, and we wouldn't find the psyche. And the psyche is our memory bank, the psychological difference, and we have to investigate that if something isn't working in our lives. So most people, 24/7, we've got the discussion in our head. And all depending on what we learned about how to fit in with people and what other people did for us to feel acceptable, approved of, and all the rest of it, those feelings and that psychological past is with us the whole time. It's the roots of the tree. So we are every time something happens, instead of being in the moment, logical and adult, we're going back to that damaged child within. And we don't realize, good heavens, I'm responding like a 10-year-old and I'm 20, 30 or whatever age. That's when we know that we have to become our own best friend and do the inner work so that we can go on and do whatever we want to do with life.
So it's like a lot of what we've learnt in life, that first 10 years, it's quite a crucial time, isn't it? It's
Yeah.
Like you said, a lot of subconscious programming and learning has gone on that time. Yeah, that it kind of foundation of how we are. Yeah, and sometimes we do go back to it. Yeah, it was. Yeah,
I can't do that.
Absolutely.
And
sorry.
You see, no, never.
Yeah, sorry.
We're doing great. I promise you. I promise you, I've done a few lives. This is absolutely great. We're doing great. It's not an I, it's a we.
Exactly.
And the most important thing about life is that people, every one of us, this is happening and happened to. It's called the human condition. And I can sit here as we're talking, and I can observe my story like watching a television program. And people live and die if they're not ready and think that's who they are. And they're the roles we play and the hats we wear in order to cope and fit in. As I also sit here, I'm in the moment. And so I can watch my mind as it wants to go back to yesterday. That's not the present, so I bring it back. It's like watching a leaf fall off a tree. You know, just let it fall. Don't grab onto anxiety, don't grab onto guilt, don't grab onto inferiority. Just stay present and just watch. And then watch what your mind says, because that'll give you an indication if you were criticized as a child or not understood. Nobody listened to how we felt. So we stop listening to ourselves and our actual needs and wants and feelings. And we were programmed to do whatever it took so that people accepted us. Now that's going on 24/7. And then there's this great moment when I'm not sure how it's realizations, and that you suddenly realize, good heavens, that's just, you open the curtains and it's raining. And what do people say? Oh no, another rainy day, it's raining. Or if it's sunny for 2 or 3 days, I'm going UK now, oh, it's too hot. Take the word to out of, take the word to out. Take the word to, and then we actually are in the moment. Oh, it's hot or it's raining. Now, all depending on our programming, if we listen to mum or dad or teachers saying, oh, another miserable day, we have taken that on board in our psyche. And once you observe that, then you have something called an opportunity, a space between the feeling and the thought to change your response to your old programming. And people say, you don't want an ego, you don't want a past. Actually, we need to understand that when we were little, we learned to walk and it took us ages. And Paul, you learned to walk.
Mm.
You see, you don't get this, Paul.
No.
You don't get how much harder it was for you.
Oh, yeah.
And I'm honest, I don't
Yeah,
pretend.
yeah.
So
No.
we learn to walk. So that's something that we need to say to ourselves. I'm absolutely fantastic. I learned to walk. I really can do this. And we've got to feed, not say, I don't want that. We have to accept and look at all the times we can give ourselves gratitude and appreciation for the efforts we put in. Some of the things we learned, like Grandad's dislike of the Germans, let's go for that one, that's not ours. And yet we carry these things around, and we meet someone and they might have an accent and we think, oh, I don't like that person. It's an instant trigger from a memory in the psyche. And then we have to say, well, is it mine? Do I need to resolve it? Or do I just let it go? Does that make sense?
1% for me.
Yes, yeah. I get that. I mean, the way that the world is, and socialism, our social aspects is, it seems to be like everyone's trying to fit into this perfect remit, and we shouldn't be going for that. We should accept what is, what it is, what it is, what it is. And then so many people are striving for that. That's what I'm getting from, just on Facebook, being on Facebook. They want that perfection, and anything less than that, they complain, don't they? They complain, or they wonder why they're not getting that, or and that's kind of a mindset into that,
Shall I dig a bit deeper?
Yeah, definitely. I like
just from what you've said, you see, we then, each of us, have to decide what role we've started playing, what mask we are wearing. And most people are more comfortable with the pair of slippers they've had for a year than a brand new pair. So the very concept is daunting. And so when we, all of us, go out into the world and meet other people, then they have all their stuff. They've got their programming from grandma, granddad, from parents, teachers, and you've got your stuff. And what I notice is that people, I noticed this when I was a little girl. I thought, why are people talking to each other's heads? Let me explain what I mean. So you two meet in town. Hi, Paul. Hi, Johnny. How are you? I'm okay. Now, straight away, to make conversation, to communicate, which is what we do verbally, you're either going to feel uncomfortable because you're shy and you don't know what to say. You're going to crack a joke because that's your bravado. It's what you do to make you feel comfortable. Or you're going to start saying, look at the weather. The weather's what everyone seems to use to allow their feelings to come through. And so when you go out and we begin the path of spirituality, we begin the path of the internal journey to understand and find a balance within. And it becomes very lonely because everyone has saying, I'm fine. How are you? I'm fine. I don't swear, so you'll have to make your own mind up. I don't mind swearing. I just think if I'm on public platform, I'm not setting a good example. So a leading psychologist in his field, very new, was talking to 400 psychologists, all very learned. He said, fine. I'm fine, thank you. What does fine mean? Frustrated, insecure, neurotic, and emotional. So every time people talk to each other, oh, I'm fine, that's what they are. They're frustrated, they're neurotic, they're insecure. Do you see where I'm coming from? And so ever, next time you go to say that, you will think about it differently, I hope. Because if you are fine, then I feel good. It's a great day. It's an expression of. If we're fine, frustrated, insecure, neurotic, and emotional, that is what we're telling ourselves. And we need to go inside to say, okay, why am I frustrated? Now, two people meeting, with us it was 3. We all had a feeling of frustration when at first the live didn't go out. Now that frustration is normal because we all want our own way. We want things to work.
Yes, yeah,
and we can only live in that place. So we own the feeling. We would feel insecure because we didn't know what was happening. There's your fear. Neurotic is we could go all anxious, and then emotional is the very things that I've just mentioned. Those are all things that are not balanced within. And so out there, I go out and I go to the shop and morning, hi, you know, I'm just this bubble. Now, I want to tell you, and especially any of your viewers, and if there are any questions, I don't know if you can see if anybody wants to ask any.
I've got some questions over here, I think, on the other screen. We'll come back in a second there, so.
Yeah. Women they either love me or they don't like me. I'm a bubble. I'm not a bad old stick for my age, and I think I'm young, so that's ridiculous. And if they are full of envy, resentment, and jealousy, and envy and jealousy are not the same, and they don't know that, then those feelings which they don't own, they project onto somebody else. So I could smile at somebody, as I did the other day. I don't expect anything back. I'm just smiling. It's an exchange of 2 human beings. The stony face back. So I'm quite resilient. I'm like a dog with a bone. So I walk past, see her again. I'll say, hi. I've never met her in my life. And then I could say to you, well, maybe she had had a death in the family. She was not even seeing me. Except that I saw her again 10 minutes later, laughing and joking with the friends that she was looking for. So you just have to remember that other people are in their own self-center and don't even see you. So you go along open and warm and say, hiya, morning, and we have to be prepared for other people to act the way they do, because that's none of our business. I'm in the business of trying to put something back to pass on. And so that's my explanation there of people talking to each other's heads.
I get that.
I get that too, yeah.
What anyone?
Yeah, I've got some comments.
It's like from Buddhism. It is like from Buddhism.
Buddhism, okay, yeah.
Oh, that's absolutely wonderful. Somebody from the Buddhist group. Okay, I will just say welcome. And I, for many, many years, decades ago, I used to go to a class in Derby, and I went for quite a while. I read into Buddhism, and that's the label, the title of the religion or the belief system they follow. And I would say within me, I could say, yes, if you're going to put me in a box, I'm a Christian, I'm a Buddhist, except that I'm not in a box. So for me, people who follow the belief system of the Buddha, it's the most beautiful, beautiful, enlightened way to be, because Buddhists, as I understand it, they seek the happiness within, and they tell themselves, and they look into this idea of this. You can almost feel me opening up and saying, how lovely. And so there's so much beauty, and we could learn so much from their wisdom and understanding, that it's lovely to know that someone's listening, and that energy, that vibration for me is all around. So I have such an open mind because they portray love. Love to me is everything. We have to learn to love ourselves. We have to learn to accept and love other people. And we can only love other people to the degree that we love ourselves. That's not egotistical. We have to undo the damage if you've been crippled with criticism. And it's only then that you can become aware and start talking to yourself in a positive, loving way.
I actually saw, just before Paul came here to do the live feed, I watched one of your videos. I think it was called "What Is Love,"
Yeah.
and I just agreed with everything when I watched it. I agreed with everything you said. And you mentioned a little encounter with Jehovah's Witnesses, I think, on that video, and because my background, it's not a Jehovah's Witness as such, but my parents are close friends to Jehovah's Witnesses. They had Bible studies, and I've had a Bible study. I never taken it on. So I when he was discussing about your encounter with Jehovah's Witnesses, I was quite enjoyed that in a way, you know.
Yeah, you see, that's lovely, because this it just gives me to be able to lead on to things that people are in their own reality, in their programming, in their mind, their upbringing, their computer. And so therefore we come with our programming, our computer within the self. And what amazes me is we think we're right. And this is, if I could get this over to one person, the good, bad, right and wrong, we were taught as children. Every child was brought up and taught in the programming. Some people call it culture, and that's what we inherit. So if you had the culture, the upbringing of a Buddhist or a Jehovah's Witness or a Christian, the belief system, the parents pass that on to the child. Now, that's all well and okay, except that it all depends how they view that particular religion, or, for instance, Jehovah's Witness. I know for a fact, I have friends who are Jehovah's Witnesses, and I know for a fact that unfortunately, and I say this as a generalization, and I get that the church, most people in the church, in their infinite wisdom of fear-based wisdom, wanted to create enough words and power within themselves for people to follow. Now that's okay, because there's lots of room for people who lead and follow. So in their infinite wisdom, books were created. There's the Quran, you've got the Bible. Now the Bible, there were lots of chapters that could go in the Bible, and some had to be left out. And I think I'm not sure, there's one particular chapter that was left out, and that was at a time when there was no mention of Jesus in the Bible. And for a decade, there was mention of a man in the East walking around in a similar way, talking about learning to have your own power, learning to have the choices, which of course is what we were given, a choice. That was actually left out of the Bible. Had that have been put in the Bible, then you could actually see, wow. So what we've got now is a system whereby, not all, there's a lot of good in a lot of people who collectively get together. A lot of religions and decisions are built on fear. And that is fear, blame, shame, guilt, control. And people want to control. And that's where the abuse comes in. And that's why they just it falls around about our ears. Because how can we believe that somebody can follow a God or love or energy, spirit, vibration that wants to control out of fear? That's not love. It's a man-made conception.
I mean, a lot of religions are man-made, aren't they? You know, I mean, I always say that I'm not religious, but I'm spiritual. You know, that's how I would describe myself in that way.
Yeah, me too.
I've watched you two in the short time we've been talking, relax into yourself. And you see, instead of, because we're indecisive when we're anxious, because it's different, and because we're you know, and it's new, we flounder a bit. What you just said, listen to the statement. I would call myself spiritual, not religious. You don't need to qualify it. What we do is try and justify the statement, because still deep down, we've got a system in our programming that's telling us, because we've got this blame, shame going off still, that we have to justify a statement. Once you're your own person and you're growing into that, you won't need to do that. And you just say, I don't know. And if you don't know, you don't know. Do you know that's the most honest statement? And then you say to yourself, well, I don't know. And then you say, do I want to know whatever it is? And for me, I'll say, absolutely, because all knowledge is powerful. My knowledge is, there's knowledge of the world, and then there's the wisdom that comes from knowledge and learning about the inner self. Once you have that wisdom, you're able to come from this heart that you've reclaimed for yourself, and your spirit, which is love, and they entwine. Those two entwine, so you're your own best friend. You never ever criticize yourself. And how I know if you're criticizing yourself, anybody, even the most strong, amazing teachers, I listen while they say, oh, you should do this, or they say, but those words are feeding your shame, blame, guilt. They're feeding that old dialogue. So those words, and my third book, where is it? Oh, it's an ebook on here. It's called A Sense of Time. First part is when we find out about Steve's terminal illness. Middle part is about me reinventing myself. Third part is about the language of love versus the language of fear. So there's certain words that you personally, if you choose to go all the way and you want to have this balance within, you have to take out of your programming. It's not needed. It's things like but, can't, even don't know, unless you then say I'd like to know, is putting in to the brain and the psyche that wants to work together. Oh, he doesn't want to know. She doesn't want to know. We won't let them know. And by definition, let me explain. Somebody would come to my slimming club years and years ago, and they'd say, I'd really like to lose weight, but now I'd really like to lose weight. It's gone. Because the but has just disconnected the real me, and I've now gone into child and programming from my computer. There's the child, the adult, and there's parent. So but halt. We've closed the door, halt. Just imagine. And so the next thing we're going to say, right, is what your brain and your psyche will do, because the universe wants you to be happy. I've only got to look at a cream cake and I put weight on. Definition, when she eats a cream cake, she wants to put weight on. So you could relate that to anything in life. And you're both smiling. I love it. Because I only tell the truth from a place of love. If I don't know, I don't know. So some people, egos challenge me big time. And they'll say, it's only your opinion. I'll say, okay. I'm not giving an opinion. I'm giving something that I've understood, believed from experience. And if this person, this lady here, who I've had bulimia, I didn't want to wake up. I wanted to die, not to kill myself, which is suicide. I wanted the emotional and physical and psychological pain to stop. So this is not coming from psyche. It's not coming from an opinion in my programming. It just comes from a heart full of love and my spirit, which is, I choose to call it God's love. God's not sat out there anywhere. It's not like we have that energy in us. And that's what we're asked to do, is to walk the walk from a place of love, your heart first, and then your spirit. Not the fear-based reality, which is split spiritual personality.
Yeah, I agree. There's a lot of lessons I've taken. Know, this is fantastic. We are pushing for time a bit, unfortunately. But
you're in charge of time. You're in charge of everything. Comments the lot.
Excellent. Because one thing I want to know, we're talking about just before you come on live about astral projection, because I find it's fascinating. So if you could give, in your own words, of course, what astral projection is to people who are looking, just don't know what it is, and then some of your experiences with that, and what it is, if that's okay. Is that okay?
Of course, absolutely. You see, it's your turn to put me on the spot.
Yes, with love, of course.
And the most important thing is that we speak from a place of love, and that gives us courage. And we have open-ended questions. And if we're not able to answer them as we understand it for ourselves, then you're not where you need to be. For me, astral traveling, out-of-body experiences, and all of the things appertaining to that, things that a lady once told me out of the blue. We were chatting, an old lady, John wants to talk to you. Didn't know a John. John, he loves deep brown chrysanthemums. I was with a girlfriend, and I went away from this and I thought, oh, I would have loved my dad to have been able to let me know that there is something out there other than this. My dad's name was Donald. And so she knew stuff. She was a very wise old lady in this cottage. Absolutely. 2 days later, I had to get my birth certificate for something. My dad's name was John Donaldson Dickinson. He was always called Don. He died when I was 15. I didn't know any of this. And his favourite flowers were deep brown chrysanthemums. And as a girl, I can remember being in the garden and helping him with those. I've got the memory now. That gave me such reassurance. And I've had more than one of those experiences. I believe that we have out-of-body experiences when we sleep. We can go to other places. We can actually, look, it's such a subject of its own. And I'm not able to tell any viewer, anyone listening to this, how it is for them. Because if they've not had any experience at all, then we're crazy. We're crazy.
Yeah. We get that a lot, don't we, as well? Like we're doing. Yeah.
And so if I were you, and I'm not, I never give advice, I'm not judgmental, I'm just aware, and I'm me. And I just speak from the places that I've explained. If somebody is talking to you about this, then learn whatever they say. Do not try and convince them, because they are talking from their ego and their programming, and they want to be right or wrong, good or bad. They want to prove you right or wrong, or you prove it to them. And you don't have proof, because an experience isn't proof. And so that being the case, no matter what you've experienced, you might have seen UFOs. I have friends that have. I don't disbelieve them in any way. Why would I? I know, so I listen. So when we have this subject, you will know if you're talking from your opinion, because you say, I agree, I don't agree. That's my opinion, that's yours, we'll agree to disagree. I don't live like that. I say, oh, okay, what is it you want to know? Explain why you think the way you do. And I go into their reality, so that then I've got an idea, and it can stay as open as anything. People say to me after a minute, oh, what are you, a psychologist? It's just something people know. When you know, it's not an ego knowing. When you know stuff, you know stuff, and it's come from somewhere. And people then will say to me about, what do you think about any subject? And I'll say, I'm not sure at the moment. I'll give that a moment. So you need to, that's where meditation comes in. You need to think, have your time to think and reflect without the instant right, wrong, good and bad. And then I'll say, it was your question. What are your thoughts? And that's exactly what I'm doing now. What are your thoughts on it?
That's brilliant.
Okay. What are your thoughts?
Well, I've not experienced it myself. So I do, obviously, I think it's it can be achieved. I've known people who can do it, and of course, speaking from I've spoken to Paul about his near-death experience and his astral traveling, and I know that without doubt, Paul's a very honest guy. There's no, completely. So I feel that that's right. I feel that, So although I've not experienced it myself, I know in myself it's a real thing.
And, so you get it. You've just got through I feel, I think, because I've not gone through the experience. And you said, I know, the word know, when you know, that's an intuitive knowing from this spirit within each of us. And Paul isn't dramatic.
No.
He's not dramatic. He's a very humble. He's actually a very humble. And it's a beautiful quality outside of being humble because you want people to like you, being humble because of the way they are with you. Humble is what I see more and more in you, Paul, a humbleness, which is a beautiful gift. And we all have it. We just have to find it. Some people are very narcissistically not able to do it. And that's okay.
Yeah.
They're in programming. So Paul, he quantifies really. If you look to someone like Paul, I've got a friend, she did say I could mention her. She had a brain tumor when she was 38. She'd done cruise ships. She was her own hairdressing business, beautiful soul. And she was on the floor in her living room on her own 2 nights, 3 days after a brain hemorrhage. Everybody said, a friend found her, she would never survive. She not only survived, she's my age now, very young, and she's not only survived, she actually lives on her own and drives a car with the whole of her right side like a lump of cement dragging her around.
Wow.
She had to learn to walk, talk, and she's an inspiration. And Paul, you're an inspiration. And some people will, what you have to understand, you see, I get a bit passionate now, is that we aren't able to stop people feeling sorry for us. People feel sorry for me. I've got invisible conditions. I've lost 2 husbands. And I could play on that. And we don't, because we know about, if we played on that, we'd give in and we'd never walk again. We'd never talk again. We'd never get out of bed. Yeah. So it's not in our interest. And we've been learned to be strong and brave. And inside is the vulnerable child, the part of us that wants people to understand that it doesn't come easy. Every day when you make a conscious choice to get out of bed for whatever reason, and we appreciate what we have, and believe it or not, again, it's a belief system, we actually choose our parents and the condition that we're going to come to this earth in to learn and to teach and to help people to understand. Because what we do there is we first of all have to get through our own self-pity, another pity, which is a talk in itself, honestly. Once people understand that, they can see they have choices. So if somebody says, oh, I'm really sorry for your loss when somebody's died, they are in the poor old me's. They're not owning feeling helpless. Whereas if somebody had died in your life and you just told me, I'd say, because I know that person's gone to onto the next galaxy, the next realm, the next part of the journey. That's where they're going because they've chosen when they leave this earth. That's what spirit does. I would also understand that we miss that person physically. My daughter-in-law died at 53 only a few months ago in England, and it's left devastation. It was a celebration of her life more than the mourning, so that we supported each other. And the most important thing is that people don't understand this and they don't know what to say because they don't own the feeling of helplessness. We all have that feeling. So if you own the feeling of feeling helpless, when you see somebody like my friend Jude, you know, I could easily go and rescue her. I wouldn't insult her. She has to do things all the time on her own. And I said to her, we've known each other only a few months really, and a lifetime. And I said to her, you know, just tell me if you need something, because I've had to get over the need to help people, which was one of my things. So for me to not help, I have to remind myself I'm feeling helpless in that moment. And then I just send that person all the love in the world, trusting they can do whatever. I've satisfied my need of helplessness by sending them love. Hello, result, win-win. Does that make sense?
This is how we are, isn't it?
Yes, yeah,
it's
exactly.
How we are, you know.
Of course.
You know, whenever we go out and about, I know that that Paul's very capable, and he is.
Yeah.
And I know that if he needs any help, he will ask me. So we have that. We understand that understanding. You know, I mean, generally, I'll say, "Are you okay?" If I feel that's needed, but generally, you know,
I speak out.
Yeah, and I know that we know that we have this understanding.
Yeah.
So get that.
Do you sometimes? I see, because my friend carries all this weight around, and just taking a step is so much harder for her. Sometimes I see that she's fiercely independent already. I see that. So if we're out together, I'll say to her, I just look her straight in the eyes and I'll say, now you can get up and walk to the cafe. You can come back, you can go back because you've forgotten your spoon. I know you're quite capable, and you do that if you are on your own. Or you can accept that there's somebody who loves you enough to say, I can do that. And she said, thank you. So you've got to define the difference, and you'll know all about that, Paul, and you will, Johnny. So this is compassion. This is pure love, and men aren't supposed to love each other. Well, we do. This is, just beautiful. And then you see that lovely banter. Yeah, well, you're all right.
We have a laugh. Yeah, got to have a laugh.
Yeah, and a sense of humour. I don't know how we are for time. A sense of humour is one of the greatest gifts that we can give to ourselves and each other, because it's a journey of life. It's a roller coaster. Not sarcasm, though. Sarcasm is something, it's called the lowest form of wit. It actually damages, even in fun. The psyche does not have a sense of humour. It listens and takes it on board, especially a damaged psyche like we've been damaged, because it's feeding that negativity. So we have to be very mindful of whether we're laughing at somebody's expense or if we're laughing and it's banter. You two know the difference.
Exactly.
Yeah, definitely. Can we just have a look at the if there's any comments? And then no questions, no. But we're better wrap up. So sorry. Well, we can do another one.
Definitely. And I'm sure I speak for Paul as well. Nothing but positive energy from you. Really been beautiful. Really has been. Thank you very much.
Yeah, thank you.
It's been an absolute pleasure.
You're very welcome.
And I've learned so much as well. Thank you. Thank you.
Oh, I love you guys. I really do. And if you would put my thank you, if you'd put my website on, which is www.susuniversityoflife.com, all S's and all lowercase, and people can just have a look in the shop. They can sign to my YouTube, subscribe. You know about all that. Facebook, email. There is all free except the shop, and we all would like to learn a bit of business. I want to go all over the world, talk as I am here with you.
Fantastic. And you've been absolutely brilliant.
Have a great rest of your day, and I'm with you always. Bye for now. Bye.
All right, thank you very much. Bye-bye.
Thank you, Bye-bye.
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 Bye.
Bye.
Bye.